All right, hey guys. So I'm at school right now in our classroom. Don't worry, everything's being kept really safe. We are hopeful that we'll be able to come back to school, but we don't know yet. So don't worry, any personal items that you left are being taken care of. Um, I decided to come to school to get some of these videos done. So yeah, I'm gonna have some of the same clothes for the how-to videos, but I will be editing them so that my daily comments are relevant to that day. So first, we're going to start off with place value review since we did that at the very beginning of the year. Right here is the little place value chart that I tried to make with tape and then I ran out of tape. And so now it's with some magnets, so don't pay too much close attention to how not perfect this place value chart is. But I'm going to get started. So first we're going to start with labeling it. So remember how when we were first reviewing, we were talking about like the different places and their values. Well, obviously in our place value chart or even just in a regular number, the number on the far right, until we get into decimals, which we have not yet, the number on the far right is always going to be the ones place. And hopefully you can kind of see that. It's going to be the ones place. And I'm going to be using some abbreviations just to be able to write as big as possible. So the first section is the ones place, then we have the tens place, and then we have the hundreds place, which is going to be my first abbreviation, which will be a hundreds place. Then we have the thousands place, and if you don't remember, every three numbers in a number, there is something called it is called a period. So every three numbers is a period, and then here is where you would draw your first comma, separating the first period to the second period. Okay, so ones, tens, hundreds, comma, because that's the first period, and I kind of drew it. Hopefully you can see it. And then there's the thousands place. Then there's the 10,000s. Then there's the 100,000s. And then, because there's 1, 2, 3, we have another period done, and we'll put a little comma there, and then here is the millions. And obviously the places get larger, but we're just going to stick with ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, 100,000s, and millions. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to adjust this a little bit as we go, so don't mind me. Hopefully that's not too difficult to see. So now that we have our place value chart labeled, we're going to kind of talk about the different values. So in the ones place, whatever digit is in the ones place is going to be multiplied by 1 to get the value. So if there was a 5 in the ones place, that is the same as 5 little ones. And I know that this might seem like, oh my gosh, we already know this. That's what review is, it's just to walk you through. So it is whatever digit is in the ones place multiplied by 1, and that is what gets you your value. So if I said there's a 5 in the ones place, what's its value? You would say 5. Okay, and I'm going to erase that number because I'm not quite ready to use it yet. Then we move over to the tens place. So whatever digit is in the tens place is going to be, to find its value, we're going to multiply it by 10. Okay, making sense so far? Then we move over to the hundreds place. So whatever number is in the hundreds place, we're going to multiply that digit by 100 to find its value. So for example, if there is a 4 in the hundreds place, that means it's 4 times 100, which we know would be 400. Then we move over to the thousands place into a new period. So whatever digit is in the thousands place, we would multiply that by 1,000. Then 10,000s, whatever is in the 10,000s place, we multiply that by 10,000 to find its value. Then 100,000, multiply it by 100,000 to find its value. And then millions, then we would multiply whatever digits in there by 1 million to find its value. Okay, so far so good. Now there's something that I remember this kind of stumped us a little bit when we were working on it at the beginning of the year. I'm trying to find a color that will show up, guys. Okay, so each time that we move to the left, the value of that place changes. So if the value of the ones place is the digit times 1, and then we go to the tens place and the value of that digit is the digit times 10, that means every time that we move to the left, it's multiplied by 10. The value is multiplied by 10 because 1 times 10 is 10. 10 times 10 is 100. 100 times 10 is 1,000. 1,000 times 10 is 10,000. 10,000 times 10 is 100,000. And then 100,000 times 10 is 1 million. So as you can kind of see, and sorry it's a little bit difficult to see, as you can see, every time we move to the left, the value of the digit changes by times 10. Now when we are coming back, say if we're coming from the millions to 100,000s, we don't multiply when we're going back. When we're trying to make a number smaller, we do something called division, right? So in that same way that we multiplied by 10 every time we went to the left, every time we go to the right, the value is divided by 10. So a million divided by 10, 100,000, 100,000 divided by 10, 10,000, and so on, and so on, and so on, okay? So, right now we're gonna kind of go over a little bit of the packet because that place value worksheets that are in our packet, I know that we kind of messed it up a little bit, not realizing that, you know, we didn't remember that we have Monday off. But I still would like you to do the practice if that's something that you can fit into your day. Okay, so the first one is labeling the place value chart, which y'all are gonna be experts at the end of this. Okay, and we've done this as a quiz. We did this as a quiz at the beginning of the year, so I want you to redo it, but when you were reading the clues to fill in the digits on the place value chart, read them very, very carefully, all right? And then I decided I changed my mind, so what I'm gonna do is we're gonna kind of practice a little bit. So if I wrote this number, I have 1, 3, 4, 2, 6, 7. So I have a 7 in the ones place, a 6 in the tens place, a 2 in the hundreds place, and a 4 in the thousands place. And then 3 in the 10,000s place, and 1 in the 100,000s place. So if I were trying to find the value of this number, what would I do? 7 times 1, which means 7. 6 times 10, which is 60, because that means I have 6 tens. 100 times 2, which means I have 200. 4 times 1,000, which means 4,000. 3 times 10,000, which is 30,000. 1 times 100,000, which is 100,000. Okay, so what I would like you to do when you are working on your work is every time that you see a number, I want you to look at each digit. So 7 in the ones place, 7. 6 in the tens place, 60. 2 in the hundreds place, 200. 4 in the thousands place, 4,000. 3 in the 10,000s place, 30,000. 1 in the 100,000s place, 100,000. So I'm gonna post a Kahoot challenge as well. But the best thing to do is really just to memorize what each of these place values mean, because it will really help when you're dealing with money, and then when you get to decimals, it'll really help there too. It's just so important to have that foundation. And remember how we talked about, like, when I taught first grade, we focused on the ones and the tens, and you went into second grade, which went up to thousands, and then so on and so on and so on. Well, obviously the numbers just keep getting bigger. After millions, it doesn't stop. So knowing what these values are and how to find them is super important. So remember, every time you go to the left, the value of each place raises by multiplied by 10 times 10. And when you're coming back to the right, it's divided by 10 because it got smaller. All right. This is going to segue into something else. So have a great day.